OSPF passive interface. When you use the network statement command in OSPF, two things happen. All interfaces that have networks that fall within the range of the network statements you configured will be advertised into OSPF, and hello packets are sent on these interfaces. So if you don't want to, let me open the topology here. So let's say in this example here, let me just look at the configuration here. So R1, R2, okay. So when you don't want R1 to send hello packets on this interface, which is gig 0/0, you can actually configure passive interface on that this command here on that interface, and this is the command. Um, the reason why OSPF will run on that interface is that because you are actually configuring, you are configuring this network statement here under the the OSPF configuration, or rather OSPF process. So that's why OSPF will actually run on this interface. So if you don't want, again, if you don't want OSPF to run on that interface, then you can actually say, you can actually make that interface passive. And that's the configuration that I have on R1. And we can, of course, verify the configurations. Yeah, so I already made gig 0/0 passive interface. And we can actually demonstrate this. I'm not doing any passive interfaces in R2, but let me remove, because I want to check as well. Let me remove this command here, and I'm going to, hold on, I'm going to actually do this. But before I do that, I'm going to run this debug IP OSPF hello, so I can see the hello messages in action. So yeah, you can see here that only this interface, OSPF is running only on this interface, gig 0/1. We can see it here. But because, yeah, I already removed it, did not, yeah. And also, I don't have to actually uh, shut down the interface. So we can see here that OSPF hello messages are being sent to this interface and to this interface. And we can see that here. But if you don't, like I said earlier, if you don't want to OSPF to run on this interface, you can make it passive. And that's what we can do. So that interface is OSPF passive interface. It's gig 0/0. Let me double check. Yes. And if we do that, yeah, we're not seeing that message anymore. So we only see gig 0/1, which is what we want, because we want to run, of course, OSPF here. And this is, by the way, area 0. Area 0. Yeah. Make this red. Always make it red. Yeah, so yeah, that's how you can configure this command. Sorry, this command. But just in case you have a lot of interfaces, let's say that you have you have you're using this you're using R1 as a or you have a setup that is called router on a stick where you have a lot of sub interfaces on R1 and you don't want to run OSPF on those interfaces, you can actually configure this. Where is it? This one. So you are going to make all the interfaces passive, and then you can just um, configure this command here where you want to run OSPF on. Yeah, so let's actually do that. But before that, of course, I want to let's let that's debug running OSPF one. Okay, and I'm going to remove where was the yeah this one. Well, actually, should be this. So OSPF. So we don't have that passive interface here. So I'm going to make all the interfaces passive. And the command is this default. And yeah, we see that the neighborship, um, OSPF neighborship gone down because nothing is, hello messages are not sent on all the interfaces. So OSPF will not, uh, OSPF neighborship will not get established. So we see that here, neighbor down. So you wanna um, actually do this command here so that OSPF will run on this interface. And that we see that immediately here. So hello from R1 to R2. And now if we check the neighborship should be established, and we saw that here loading to full. But let me also OSPF neighbor. Yeah, it's full. I mean, yeah, it's full. And R1 is the DR. Hold on, let me actually how do we debug all? Let me use OSPF. That's not right. I think I configured the interface is incorrect. This is neighbor ID. Router ID. This is the router ID. But check here. Let me check this one. Oops. Yes. OSPF. Router ID. Yeah, router ID is 1. That's kind of weird because it should use its own IP address. This is router 1, right? You can see that here. Yeah, router 1. Oh, okay. So it looks like router 1 used this. Yeah, this is the router ID of R1, and this is the router ID of R2. Yeah, okay. That's so I didn't know that that could happen, but that's what's happening now. So um, because I think by default R2 should use this IP address as its router ID, but apparently it's using the router one uh, router one's IP address, which is this. All right, so let's go back to our main topic here. So let me just show the configuration again. Yeah, so this is how you can, like I said, just to conclude or summarize, this is the command that you would use to make all the interfaces passive so that OSPF will not run on those interfaces. And then if you want to run OSPF um, and send hello messages, you can actually uh, just uh, just disable the passive interface command or or feature in that interface, which is what we have done here. This is the interface facing R2, and we see that neighborship is working as expected. Router 2, and this is router 1. And of course, I can also see this one. Yeah, this is from R1, and this is R1 IP address facing R2. Let me actually do this because this is R1 and this is R2. And we saw that earlier, right? R2, dot 2, and R1 dot 1. Okay, so let's see how about from R1? OSPF, let's check the routing table. OSPF. Yeah, nothing here because R1 is actually directly connected to this interface, this network. So that's how you can configure OSPF interface, this feature on routers. Okay, that's all I want to talk about in this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.